Is this thing on? It started with two outspoken guys who have opinions on everything from Hollywood to DC. It's the Average Joe's Radio Show. Average Joe's Radio Show.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the second episode of the Average Joe's Radio Show. Yeah, cue the DJ lasers. Mike, you don't have anywhere near the budget to have sound effects or anything like that. It's Average Joe's budget and everything.
That's right. Mike works and I don't. That's even worse.
Yeah, you're one of the unemployed. You're just collecting checks from the government.
Not even that. I'm not collecting checks at all. But that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about stuff like that later on, I guess.
Yeah.
But today we're actually going to sit down and we're going to talk about the best movies, in our opinion, of 2017. Because if you listen to episode 1, we didn't really realize that there were that many good movies.
Yeah,
that came
I must
out.
have just fallen asleep because I just really forgot about how many movies I walked out of the theater this year just going like, holy shit, was that not amazing?
Yeah, like crazy.
Yeah, we'll get into it. We don't need to start listing it off. I guess we don't have to go in any particular order when we do this, just because I'm not going to put these in any kind of scale. This is the number one. We're just going to go by movies we really enjoyed. Mm-hmm. Because I don't really think, at least off the top of my head, I could put these in any particular order.
No, that's too hard. Yeah, we would have had to do a lot. Like that wouldn't have been like a podcast episode.
Yeah,
that
would have felt
like
like a scripted top 10. I don't know. I can't do that.
Right. No. We're just, I mean, that's why you like us and that's why we like you, because we just talk shit.
Yeah. So let's just get this thing going. All right. Let's start with the movie that I went to see in theaters, not only when they did it in normal color, but when they re-released it in black and white, Logan. What did you think about it?
I did not see it in black and white.
You didn't have to. It was just like an extra thing they did when they re-released it in the theaters. Just kind of make it look like an old school movie.
I thought that the movie was awesome, and I'm pissed off at myself for not remembering that when we were talking about the best movies from last year.
You don't remember much of Logan?
I remember. No. I'm pissed off that
we didn't mention
that. I didn't remember the movie.
But
like I said, it's hard. I mean, 10 months, almost 11 months into the year to try and really remember. Okay, yeah, this movie came out in February or January or March or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it's with Netflix and Hulu and YouTube and all. There's always an entertainment overload. Right. So it's hard to remember a lot of these things, and then you'll hear someone even just kind of trigger the idea. You'll be like, "Oh my god, how did I forget?"
Right.
But yeah, I think Logan was one of those movies that when I went to go see it, I'm like, you know what? I saw the Wolverine and I wasn't in love with it.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Like, I wasn't a big fan of it. I know a lot of people liked it, but I'm not one of those people. I love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. The story to me sucked.
Yes. I agree.
Wow. Logan was one of those that it didn't have too much of a story. It was a very simplistic story. It was, he needs to protect this little girl from getting killed by these people.
Yeah.
All while somehow taking care of Professor X. Like, it really isn't that drawn out a story, but it didn't need to be. Because it was a very close personal story, whereas a lot of the X-Men movies try to go like crazy, like the world is ending, Magneto's going to drop a stadium on motherfuckers, like it's going to go insane. But this isn't one of those movies. It was a very close personal story for Logan and very emotional.
It was, man. It was the little girl.
Oh yeah, she was awesome.
She was fucking great. She really was. Like, I remember
23.
I remember sitting at the movie theater watching this movie going, she's good, but maybe she's not that good of an actress yet that they didn't give her a lot of lines. And like, I was confused but then towards the end, like when she started coming out of her shell, and I was like, oh my God. Like,
she's savage.
Yeah, not to go like Harvey Weinstein, but like, I love this little girl. Like,
oh my God, you
this
just had
is
to
great.
Say that.
But there were so many different, like, that movie was an onion.
To be fair, wouldn't that make you more a Sandusky than a Weinstein?
That would. Well, Sandusky was little boys. Weinstein was at least girls.
Okay. Touche.
But that movie was really like an onion, man. There were so many different layers to it, and it cut you at every single chance they could get to cut you.
And they cut him too.
Yes, they
when
did.
they had his I forgot what they called it. Basically it was like the Logan clone.
Right.
Dude, that thing was tearing him apart in ways that I was like, dude, I feel bad watching this.
Yes.
Like, he was just massacring Logan.
He was.
Like, it was awful. And that little girl was putting in work on grown men.
Yes, she was.
And just seeing him, like, that scene where he's, like, running through, when he goes berserker, when he, like, injects himself, you're just like, dude, this is the rage mode you see in video games. Like,
Right, yeah.
I thought it was insane. Logan, to me, even remember the scene where where Professor X was essentially, like, having, like, brain tremors or whatever, and he was basically, like, freezing everybody. He was about to kill everyone around him.
Yeah.
Like, I thought at first, like, that was a weird story that they were telling in the movie. You hear it on the news, like, oh, this event that happened that killed all these people, and then you realize it was Professor Xavier, and you look at him and you truly realize just how powerful he is.
Yes. Which, like I said, it's those little subtleties, man. It really is that they do it. They do it to you.
I think overall, I mean, I hate the fact that, spoiler alert, he died at the end. But I mean, they said now they're supposedly working sequel talk for, like, the little girl to get her own movie, and
They have to. I mean, Hugh Jackman's done. That's not a spoiler. Hugh Jackman's done as Wolverine.
I want him to just show up in the new Deadpool.
And maybe he'll show up. Who knows? He might show up. But what they did is they wrote the Wolverine character off perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, they've wrote him off so well that in future X-Men movies, you don't need a Wolverine anymore.
No, and I have a feeling that when they try to cast him again, there's going to be a lot of that, like, Ben Affleck, Batman kind of, like, come back and hate.
Right.
Because I would even argue even better than Robert Downey Jr. I know I use that example a lot, but it's just perfect casting. Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. I think Hugh Jackman as Wolverine worked even better.
I agree.
I think it literally suited just like his just attitude, and to think that he's just such a pleasant dude.
Yeah.
Like in real life, he is nothing like that.
Right. He's not.
He's a total sweetheart. I mean, if you don't know, what was that movie he did? That music was it Les Miserables or whatever like that? Or something?
Les Miserable.
Yeah, I'm never gonna get that. I didn't watch it clearly, but that's just he's like a musical, like very just humble guy.
Yeah.
He's nothing like Logan. Logan is an arrogant, angry prick who doesn't mind cutting people up.
Right. Yes.
So that definitely doesn't suit him. But he morphed into that character perfectly.
Yep.
So that's why it's in that list in the top movies. I know you said you didn't see this one.
I have not.
But Get Out is something you need to see if you haven't seen it, because Get Out, like I said, is Jordan Peele, the guy from Key and Peele.
Right.
It's his directorial debut, and it's really the story of a guy and his girlfriend kind of meeting her parents and going out to the suburbs to go to like some festival that the community is holding. And he's kind of getting the vibe that the town is slightly racist, or that something isn't right because all the black people in a mostly primarily white town are acting out of the ordinary. And it was just the mood, the tone, the suspense, everything in that movie is just an A+. I would argue it's one of the best written movies of the year.
Right. Okay.
And I don't think it lets go of you. Like,
Right.
It has comedic relief right where you need it,
Right.
but it's not like, it's no way a comedy. It's absolutely a horror suspense movie. And I really think if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. It's absolutely, it's probably in my top three of the year.
Okay.
I know we said we weren't going to rate anything, but
Right,
it
that's
is
fine.
up in the top three.
Okay. And
So-
that is on the list. That's, and it's one of those things where, like you said, man, there's so many different ways where you can view movies and TV shows and stuff that your list is never ending.
Yeah.
So it gets to the point where you're like, okay, yeah, you know what? No, Get Out is on the list. I don't know where on the list it is,
But it's there.
but it's there.
It's
I know, right? I know I need to watch it. I know I need to see it. But there's other things also that I want to, and it just,
See, that's how I felt about Game of Thrones.
and it gets to the point where you're just like, you know what? I have to actually make it a point to sit down and watch it, which is what we did with Game of Thrones.
You force-fed yourself Game of Thrones.
Yeah. And I told you the first few episodes, I was like, oh God, like, come on. Like, I get where it's going. Game of Thrones, when I first sat down, and I don't mean to veer off on a tangent here, but when I first watched Game of Thrones, that to me had the same effect as what Avatar had. I did not care for Avatar at all when I saw it, but all of my friends, you included, had seen it before I saw it, and everybody told me how great this movie is.
I feel like that's the problem, and maybe we got to be careful of that. Like, overhyping is a problem that people have with movies. Like, this is the be-all, end-all of fucking movies. You don't need to see anything else with this.
Yeah.
Like, that can totally kill a movie for some people. The Hangover almost had that happen, and you almost did that for me with The Hangover. You're like, there's never been a funnier movie in the history. I watched it, and I laughed my ass off, but I was very close to being like, I think this one got oversold. Because it wasn't like, it didn't, to me, one of the most perfect comedies out there, whether you agree with me or not, is The Other Guys. The Other Guys has a comedic beat every 2 to 3 minutes. Whether you find it funny or not is irrelevant, but I literally was smiling or cracking up every 2 to 3 minutes in The Other Guys. And the movie's over 2 hours long.
Right.
So that should tell you everything you need to know about that. But The Hangover for me was almost oversold.
Right. And I can see that.
That's just a problem. We just got to be mindful of that. All right. What do we have next on the list?
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. I said this in the last podcast. Wonder Woman is fantastic. The Gal Gadot embodied the spirit of Wonder Woman. It's a powerful, empathetic woman who just has
it.
Exactly.
She's got the it factor.
Yeah.
It really does. And it's a good movie. It's a great movie. If I put it on the scale of how I view the other DC movies, it's a fantastic movie. It's 5 stars.
Oh, I think it's arguably the best DC movie other than Man of Steel to me.
Right.
Man of Steel is my favorite DC movie that they've put out.
Right.
I'm also going by the newly started cinematic universe that started with Man of Steel. I'm not throwing in the Dark Knight or the Christopher Nolan trilogy because I'm going by the universes they're setting up now. Wonder Woman, to me, is number 2 in the line of the 4 movies they have out right now.
Okay.
So
I would say that for me personally, Wonder Woman is number 1.
And that's fair because for a lot of people it is, because a lot of people didn't like Batman v Superman.
Right.
A lot of people didn't like Suicide Squad. And Man of Steel was divisive because of how Superman killed someone at the end by snapping Zod's neck.
Can we talk about Suicide Squad for a minute? I know it didn't come out in 2017, but I want to get your opinion on this.
Okay.
I read an interview with Jared Leto that said that people had viewed his Joker character as so good that he has almost been typecasted to only play a psychotic character in any movie.
I would disagree with that.
Up until I saw the movie, I thought Jared Leto was going to be a good Joker, and I thought he was overrated as shit.
I agree. I think sometimes less is more. Because if you really look at what Heath Ledger did with the Joker, he didn't go over the top in the first few scenes that you see him. If anything, he was actually pretty mellowed out.
Right.
He was just kind of selling his character, but he wasn't like bouncing off the walls or anything.
Right.
I feel the wardrobe, first off, fucked Jared Leto's Joker.
Yes.
I don't know who came up with the wardrobe for him. And I get it, there are some incarnations of the Joker where it's like that, but it didn't work for him as the Joker.
No, it didn't.
And he was a little too overly sexual for the Joker.
He was very, like, if I had to rank the Jokers, he's dead last.
Everyone's going to think I'm crazy, but I think Heath Ledger falls in the middle. I don't think he was the best Joker.
I think Heath Ledger's number 2.
I think Jack Nicholson is number 1.
Jack Nicholson he captured the essence of what the Joker is.
And I will even put Mark Hamill before Jared Leto. Mark Hamill, as the voice of the Joker on the animated series and the Arkham games, is a better Joker than Heath Ledger. But I'm sorry, not Heath Ledger, Jared Leto. But to be completely fair to Jared Leto, he had like 15 minutes of screen time in Suicide Squad.
I agree.
You didn't get enough of him to judge him one way or the other, but what I saw, I wasn't a big fan of. The best moment of him being the Joker in that movie is when they show up at the rooftop on the helicopter and they open fire on the Suicide Squad, and he's laughing hysterically, and he finally gets Harley back with him. That's like the best scenes you get with him.
Right.
the scene in the club with Common, I feel like they didn't even need that scene.
No, they
could have thrown that scene out because he's like offering Harley. The Joker would never do that.
Right.
He's completely insane, but there's one thing he's positive of, and that Harley is his woman.
Yeah, exactly.
He would not be doing that.
Exactly.
And the other scene where he like interrogated the cop that worked in Arkham, like I didn't think anything of that either.
Right. His Joker was forgettable.
Yeah, and that's sad because I was really looking forward to his Joker.
And the problem is that I blame Jared Leto for it, and I know that it's your job to hype up things and sell people on things. But he led us all to believe that he was going to be as good as Heath Ledger, if not better than Heath Ledger, because as good as Jack Nicholson was, a lot of people forget about him just because it happened such a long time ago. Half the people
watch that movie again.
Yeah, but half the people that are even listening to our show probably weren't even born when that movie came out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where Jack Nicholson was great. You're not gonna like the special effects in the original Batman movie.
I think they hold up for them.
They're fine. I don't mind them. But I'm also like, some people don't appreciate things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they don't have the nostalgic thing to go back and look at and appreciate.
Exactly. That's why some people don't like the original Star Wars movies as much.
Or the original Superman movie.
Right.
I don't blame that one because the original Superman movie is very campy.
It's true.
It's got a special place in my heart because I grew up with it. But it's very campy. Very campy. That's why I really enjoyed Man of Steel. Man of Steel changed that dynamic. But to go back to the Joker... Another thing that just bugged the hell out of me is why in the hell did you take off his eyebrows?
Right.
There was no reason to get rid of his eyebrows.
Right. His eyebrows are
Go back and look and just picture how much normal the Joker would look if he had green eyebrows the way he's supposed to have, and they didn't just give him that skin look where they didn't even paint on eyebrows. Like, that's weird.
I agree.
I don't mind the on the nose tattoos he had on himself with the smile. I don't mind that stuff. That's whatever. The Joker he's out of his mind.
He's able to pull that stuff off.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think if he would have changed his wardrobe and they would have gone more for the maniac instead of like sexual sleuth that they went for, I think his character would have landed a little better.
Right. Now, do you think that Jared Leto could have pulled that off anyway as an actor?
Yeah,
he's a good actor.
I think he's good enough to pull it off. Do I think he would have been... Is he the person I would have put my hand on for a Joker? Probably not.
Right.
Honestly, he's too old for it now, but I think back in the day, the perfect person to play Joker would have been Willem Dafoe.
He'd have been good.
He would have been good, in my opinion.
He'd have been better than...
Or hell, even the guy... what's the guy who played Marty McFly's dad? What's his name?
Oh, crap.
Crispin Glover.
Crispin Glover, yeah.
Yeah, he would have been a good Joker, in my opinion. If nothing else, just for the look.
Right.
Like, I can imagine him painted up and done with the Joker makeup, and it would have...
Also, isn't Crispin Glover, like, legitimately psychotic?
That's up in the air, man. So... does that answer your question about Suicide Squad?
Yeah. And like I said, I didn't mean to steer off, but I saw the door open, so I figured I could kick it.
Absolutely. And there's nothing, I don't mind. I'll talk about that stuff all day. But I guess we'll finish up on Wonder Woman. Like, I think Chris Pine, I was worried when they first cast him in that movie that he was going to overshadow Gal Gadot.
Exactly.
But I feel like they used him just enough to push her up on the pedestal.
Right.
I don't feel like he overshadowed her at all. As a matter of fact, there were times where, because it tends to be the problem in a movie where the woman is the protagonist or like the main protagonist, that she somehow is undermined by the male character in the movie.
Makes sense.
Like, I think the only other movie that doesn't happen is maybe Resident Evil, because, you know, Mila, I can't say her last name. Jovovich. She literally was the lead in those movies, and you felt that she was the lead in those movies. In other movies where there's a female lead, the males somehow always try to steal the thunder. And I feel like Chris Pine complimented Gal Gadot instead of overshadowing her.
Somewhere I feel there's another Weinstein joke in there.
There is. And I feel like there was a few of them written into the script, especially when they were on the boat on their way to London.
Yeah.
And she's like, why? You don't want to sleep with me? He's like, no, I'll sleep next to you. It's like, it's not a big deal. I mean, I'll touch you if you want me to touch you.
Do you want a massage?
Yeah. Like, oh my God. I would marry that woman in a heartbeat. So Wonder Woman, That's easily one of the top ones. So we're gonna go next here. I mentioned this one last, Power Rangers. I know you another one you haven't seen.
I have not seen it, and
I'm sure a lot of people haven't seen it, to be completely fair, because it's Power Rangers. But here's the best way I can describe Power Rangers to at least this iteration of it, because the TV show was campy and it was very cheesy. I watched it as a kid, but as a kid, your expectations aren't exactly through the roof on anything. And if you go back and look, none of the TV shows we watch as the kids are all grade A, but they are all good enough to pass a kid's standard.
Agreed.
Power Rangers, to me, is like the 1966 Batman TV show. That cheesiness, that campiness, the boom pow, like, it's like, like all that weird stuff you hear on that show. Those two are identical, in my opinion, as to how the characters got portrayed. Over the top, cheesy, just awful.
That's okay. I'm with it.
The new Power Rangers movie does what the Dark Knight did for... If you took the 1966 Batman, you turned it into the Dark Knight, that's what they did for Power Rangers.
Okay.
They brought it to an adult medium that people can buy into and see. Because when they finally suited... They don't even suit up till the third act of the movie. And you don't need it. You almost like when it happens, you're like, oh, this is cool. And they did it in a very way that kind of... It's very 2017.
Right.
The jokes, the music, the vibe, it's very much a timepiece, but the characters and the actors, they all did an amazing job to bring the Power Rangers to something that people that maybe not even grew up watching it could fall and become fans of now. So if you haven't seen Power Rangers, get out of your shell and go see it. Rent it.
Nobody will judge you.
Nobody will judge you. You'll thank me later. And if you don't, well, I can't help you.
Power Rangers is on my proverbial list.
So please.
The never-ending list. But you know what, though? I have, I told you, I've made an attempt to watch it before, and it just...
We're not condoning his way of watching.
Right, no, and we won't even speak about watching it on Cody. But
You did it.
I tried to start watching it, and it froze on me, and then other things came up, and, that was like we made it a point to watch it, and then it just didn't pan out.
All right, other movies on the list is one of the two Kurt Russell movies of the year, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
I have no idea how we forgot about that one on episode 1.
I don't know either, but Guardians of the Galaxy is probably my favorite Marvel movie.
Yes.
And I didn't think it was, because I remember when it first came out, I knew a little bit about the characters, but I wasn't following them wholeheartedly.
And I think that's what's cool though, is because nobody was. And if anybody tells you that they followed Guardians of the Galaxy,
it's probably a lie.
You're lying on your ass.
I knew who Rocket Raccoon was, and I knew who Star-Lord was.
Yep.
I didn't know anything about Gamora, Drax. I knew that for a while there was a few people that were in the Guardians of the Galaxy, but it was like the Justice Society.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like for DC, it's like one of those characters, some of the characters there, but you don't really know how they came together. You don't really know what their main story is.
Right.
And honestly, I think that as good as they could have done Volume 2, they did. I think they pulled it off.
They did. Every aspect of it. And it's not very often that sequels live up to the first movie.
Yeah.
It's not.
And I think a lot of that falls on the performances of Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
Chris Pratt is amazing.
Yes,
as Star-Lord.
Yep.
I mean, heck, he's amazing in pretty much anything he's done lately.
I agree.
But Star-Lord to me is his Indiana Jones. Like, it's his character that he just is born to play.
He made it his own.
Yeah, he made it his own. He actually, and the funny thing is I don't even think he's playing too differently from how he is in person. If you watch him, how he just talks and his personality, I think he just brought Star-Lord into more who he is than maybe he became who Star. Yeah,
right. Yep.
You know what I mean? But I think that worked out in his favor.
Yeah.
I think Bradley Cooper is hilarious as Rocket.
Of course.
And Dave Bautista.
Who'd have thought?
Who'd have thought he'd be such a funny dude on screen? I've never laughed hard. Drax, to me, has more laughs that he puts out than any other character in that movie.
Yeah.
And I think it's because he's just such a serious guy that when he starts busting out or cracking on people, not to go R-rated here, but even in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, when Groot lets out all those little light spores to light up the room, and he goes, this tree is my friend and this green whore is my, she's like, what the hell? And he's, you know what I mean? Like those lines come out of nowhere and they blindside you and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like when Mantis finds out that Star-Lord is like secretly in love with Gamora and he goes, he just told your deepest, darkest secrets. You must be so embarrassed. Those are the moments you just can't like make up. And Kurt Russell as Star-Lord's dad, I'm going to be honest, like I knew eventually somehow this was going to turn, but I was so bought into him. I really liked him.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's what Kurt Russell does. That's why when you get a good actor that can actually sell you on a role and sell you on a character, and you go, holy shit! Like, come on, don't turn.
Yeah, this was one of those things. He turned, but you know what? It was so cool that the planet and him were like one.
Yes.
And that he was giving basically he wasn't giving him anything. He was using Star-Lord to basically like I think take over more worlds and stuff like that. But it was just one of those. It's just one of those performances that he is just one of those likable villains.
Yep.
Much like Negan, much like a lot of other characters in other shows. But I feel like he definitely did his part.
Yeah.
And I think the jokes. I think the first one had a little bit more heart.
Yeah.
But I think the jokes in the second one were just over the top. And
Mary
hilarious.
Poppins, y'all.
And Baby Groot, if that's not the cutest freaking thing I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Like, Baby Groot was adorable. And you laughed your ass off watching him. And he was whooping people's ass.
Yep.
And how about, I forget what's the character, the blue one, I always forget.
We got Daryl's brother plays, right?
Yeah. This is horrible. I should know all this stuff off the top of my head. Michael Rooker, I think.
There's a lot to know, man.
Yeah.
There was Michael Rooker. Yondu.
There you go. Thank you. Yondu was definitely a character that you liked in the first movie and that you loved in the second movie more right before they, spoiler alert, killed him.
Yeah. They gave him that added depth that he needed as a character, and he didn't need much. Like, he was a bad guy, and you go, okay, he's a bad guy.
But then you learn that he was keeping Star-Lord from his father because he knew who his father was, and he was basically being a better dad to him anyway.
Yep, exactly. And it was the added character depth that, of course, gets me. But I enjoyed it.
Easily one of the top movies of 2017.
Yes, I agree.
All right, what's next on the list? Alien Covenant.
Not a top movie of 2017 for me.
I put it on the list because I am a big fan of the second act of that movie.
First of all, I am a huge nerd for the Alien movies.
You're in good company. I am too.
I love the Alien movies. This movie to me was just very, very, very anticlimactic.
All right, let's before we get into Alien Covenant, rate the Alien movies as they were. And Prometheus, I am not going to count. I don't care how many times Ridley Scott wants to tell me it's in the same universe. They didn't make it an Alien movie. He didn't until it has an alien in the title. I'm not going to call it an alien.
Fair.
Movie. So rate them as they are.
Let me see. I think Alien Resurrection is probably second.
Second for you? Wow.
So.
That's usually the weakest one for some people. But.
I think I'm going to go Alien 2 as number one.
I feel like that's a lot of people.
You know what? No, I'll do Alien 1, number 2. Alien Resurrection, third.
Okay.
And then Alien 3.
Okay. I'm going to probably go, just because I watched the original Alien and it scared the shit out of me as a kid, I'm going to go Alien, but it's very hard not to put Aliens, the James Cameron one, right there, because you look at Michael Bain, Bill Paxton, Sigourney Weaver, like all these people just brought their A game. Oh my God. I'm going to go Aliens. Aliens number 1, Alien for spot number 2. I'm going to go Alien 3, and then I'm going to put Resurrection. Because I actually think Alien 3 had a lot of like very claustrophobic feeling that the first one had.
Right. Okay.
Because that jail was like, or that weird prison that they were in was so congested, and before that you never got to see a chest burst out of a freaking dog.
That's true.
And then you got it like crawling around like a dog. It's almost like it took some of the dog's DNA and became that. So I would argue that there was a lot of kills in the third one. I didn't like the ending at all with her just kind of like falling into the pit as the alien was coming out of her stomach. It really wasn't my thing. But overall, I liked the movie. Alien Covenant, though, is better than Alien 3 and Resurrection to me. But I'm not putting it on this list because it's different to me.
Right. That's fair.
Alien Covenant started off as a Prometheus sequel and became an Alien movie in the third act. I wasn't a big fan of a lot of the new creatures that they put in the movie. As soon as the face huggers showed up, I was like, now you've hooked me into this movie.
That's the part that I did enjoy, is that it seemed like
Billy Cutterup looked directly into the freaking egg. I'm sorry. In what world does that seem like a good idea?
That world.
No, I'm sorry.
It's a bad idea there too.
He just said they're waiting for Mother.
Right.
Like, dude, you have a gun. Keep your distance. Be like, why don't you put your face over it?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't going to do anything for some reason because of an android. I figured it just sensed people walking by. I don't know. I can't explain why they don't attack David. I don't get that.
Right.
Because they attacked Bishop in the other movies.
Right.
So I don't get that at all. But
I just think that I knew what it was going into it, but it seemed like it was almost kind of like, like we knew it was set in the same universe, but it almost seemed like it was Prometheus, where it was built off of Prometheus. And
it totally was.
Instead of being built off of the actual Alien movies. So it seemed like Covenant, to me, was more of a sell on, no, Prometheus really was an Alien movie. You know what I mean? Like, it seemed, I liked how those two tied in together. I enjoyed that. Because to me, that helped solidify Prometheus as, okay, I guess it was an alien movie. But to me, like I said, it was just so anticlimactic to me. Like, I just remember sitting in the movie theater, and I think we were at Silver Spot, and I'm just sitting there like, okay, it's got to pick up at some point, right? Because it was just like, it didn't have nearly the amount of action that any of the other Alien movies had.
Oh yeah, but I don't think you're ever going to top Aliens in action.
Right, of course.
I think that movie was. I think unless James Cameron wants to take another crack at it, which I don't think Ridley Scott will ever let him do again. I think, and plus he's trying to make like the 5 freaking Avatar sequels all back to back. It's like I think he should have released at least one of them by now.
Yeah.
Because by the time these other ones come out, nobody's going to care.
Right.
I would argue that once they meet the face huggers in Alien Covenant, it takes off from there because the alien fight on the ship as they're trying to take off the surface. I do have one gripe with the face huggers. I like how they were all, like the crew members of the Covenant were working together to try to kill the face hugger.
Right.
Remember how it jumped on the guy's face and the other guy cut it off for him?
Yes. Remember that.
And it like burned his face and he healed him, and then the other guy just left him to get massacred by the actual xenomorph when it jumped down and took him out.
Right.
How in the hell did that guy have anything burst out of his chest? There's no way that thing laid an egg in 2 seconds on his face.
Right, I agree.
No way. It didn't even fully wrap around his face.
Right. I'm with you.
Because he had his hands there. It didn't even wrap around his throat or anything. So I feel like that's a plot hole for a whole other story, unless David put an embryo in him or something like that once they were on the ship. I don't know how it happened, but it doesn't make any sense to me. Unless there was another alien already on the island and it snuck aboard the ship and it didn't get caught, but I'm going to call bullshit on because David would have had no one to test it on.
Exactly.
So I would say that's a problem, but once they were on the ship, I feel like they could have made the hunt for the alien aboard the Covenant better than what it was.
That could be too. Yeah.
I don't mind the shower scene where it's surprised that 2 people having sex, which at this point, if you have sex in a movie, just know you're going to die.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why like movie makers hate sex, but apparently if you touch your girl or whatever in the movie, you're going to die.
Yeah,
it's
that's
a given.
true. Yes.
Even the killer in Scream basically made it look like he killed himself after he had sex with Neve Campbell. Like, he just wanted to sell that point home. I would say Alien Covenant for me, it just barely makes the list. But it's just, maybe it's because I'm such an Alien fan and I finally got to see something that wasn't Aliens versus Predator, because those movies aren't that great unless you just purely go into it for the popcorn aspect of it. They're not great written movies.
They're not. They're really not.
This was the first one in a long time where you actually got to enjoy it. All right, what's next on the list? Spider-Man Homecoming.
How we forgot about that movie, I don't know.
But it was an amazing, no pun intended, movie.
Right, yes. It was. It absolutely was. I actually just saw it for the first time about 4 or 5 days ago.
No, really?
Yeah.
You didn't go see it in theaters?
I did not see it in theaters.
I definitely did. There are a couple of things I didn't like about the movie, but overall, it was one of the strongest Spider-Man movies around.
I agree.
If not in the top 2.
I agree. And what I liked about it is that it went back even further in time to where he's a high schooler.
Yeah, I know a lot of people had problems with that, but I actually don't mind that.
I like that because now it gives the character longevity.
Yeah, it does give the character longevity, and it reminds me more of the Ultimate Spider-Man.
Right.
Where he is a kid in high school.
Exactly.
Because every other movie, it's always like he's just coming out of his senior year of high school and getting ready to graduate.
Yeah. Getting emo, the whole, yeah.
We end up forgetting about Tobey as Spider-Man. We need to put that one in the past. I would argue I liked Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man more than Tom Holland.
Yeah.
I like him better, but Tom Holland is he's a great Spider-Man.
He's a very good Spider-Man. And I want to see more of him as Spider-Man once he starts coming into his own. Because this was really just kind of a glimpse.
Yeah, because they kind of just teased him in Civil War.
Right. Yeah. They teased him, but then even in Homecoming, it was still kind of a glimpse of what Spider-Man's going to become. Me. It wasn't a full-fledged thing. I mean, Tony Stark even took the suit away from him at one point.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like like he skipped over his training course and all of that kind of stuff. But it wasn't, like I said, it's not Spider-Man at his best yet, which is why I enjoyed the movie because, like I said, it gives the character more longevity going forward.
Yeah. I will say this. I like how they got Marissa Tomei to be Aunt May.
Hot Aunt May.
Yeah, hot Aunt May. Yeah. I like that because Peter's young, and I kind of like the idea that he has a young aunt.
Yeah.
But I also really liked Andrew Garfield and Sally Fields in The Amazing Spider-Man. So they were a good combination, and I think she played like a very loving, worried aunt.
Right.
Where this one played the very hip aunt.
Correct.
Yeah. I think they used Robert Downey Jr. just enough in that movie. Like it did, because it could have very easily become a Iron Man featuring Spider-Man movie.
Right. It could have.
And they didn't do that, and I almost commend Sony for doing that because it's like you have one of the coolest comic book characters in your possession.
Right.
You have the Batman equivalent on the Marvel side in Spider-Man. Don't act like you can't make a good movie with him.
Yeah, I mean, you've already shit on the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, that was awful.
Don't shit on Spider-Man.
Don't do that to Spider-Man. He's easily the best character in the Marvel series. Period.
What I don't get, and it's not about Spider-Man Homecoming, is why stop rebooting Spider-Man.
I think they're stopping now, but I feel like
they're going to keep.
They would have been better off to keep Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man because I have people that I know that won't even watch these because they're tired of all the reboots.
Right, and I mean, and I was annoyed when they were, like when I saw Civil War and Tom Holland was casted as Spider-Man. I was like, God damn it, they're gonna do another one because at that time they had already announced Homecoming was coming out.
Yeah,
and I was just like, man, another one? Like, come on, like Tobey Maguire. I don't like Tobey Maguire. I thought up until he became emo satanic Peter Parker, he was a good Peter Parker. He wasn't a great Spider-Man.
Yeah, because he looked like an emotional Kermit the Frog.
Right, but he did a decent enough job to where you could have just kept it and stopped rebooting it. Like it didn't absolutely must have been rebooted and put Andrew Garfield in. Andrew Garfield was good, but Tobey Maguire wasn't bad enough to warrant needing a reboot.
I think he just looked too old. I think that's what it was.
And that could have been it.
I would argue the best Spider-Man represented on screen is Andrew Garfield in the first 10 minutes of Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
When he's stopping that truck and Paul Giamatti, he's stopping him from stealing all the plutonium.
Yep.
Him swinging around, talking shit to him. That is Spider-Man's technique. I'm going to annoy you and piss you off and make you make mistakes because you're trying to swing at me angrily instead of thinking it through. I'm using my sarcasm as a tool to whoop your ass.
Yep, that's it.
That is what he did. Right. He was literally depantsing the guys, whistling his own theme music.
Yep.
Like almost breaking the fourth wall the way Deadpool does.
Yeah.
And the way he goes like, excuse me, Mr. Criminal, and he's like asking him to roll down his window, and he's like, hi, I'm Spider-Man. You can call me amazing, you can call me Webhead, just don't call me late for dinner, get it?
Yeah.
And he just I don't know. I feel like he embodied Spider-Man very well. I think The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was the victim of movies that are trying too hard to be worried about what sequels are coming instead of making a good movie in the moment.
Yeah.
Because he's not the fault of that series going down.
He's not either. And like I said, it's to me that's what I don't understand is why they Tobey Maguire, that could have been the age thing. That could have been.
Yeah.
But then you go through with Andrew Garfield and you go, okay, they had two good movies. Like there's not one Spider-Man out of all 6 now?
Yeah.
That I've hated.
Spider-Man 3 was not a good movie.
I didn't like Spider-Man 3, but if I was to say I hated it, I'd be lying.
I enjoyed some parts of it.
But to me, like I said, the hard aspect of it for me is like, okay, how much do I actually invest in Tom Holland now? Do I really give a shit about Tom Holland, or is he going to be a little sprinkle in Civil War, a Homecoming, and then a second movie, and then somebody else again?
I will say that I think Tom Holland has an innocence to him that Peter Parker embodies.
Yeah.
An innocence that just that young kid, that very hopeful, youthful. When you were a kid, you weren't as
like
cynical.
young number 2.
Yeah.
You're so energetic and youthful.
Yeah, he just literally, he just has that, he hasn't been tainted by the negativity of the world.
Yeah.
He is still a kid. He's still optimistic and hopeful. I mean, look at just the videos he was taking when he gets the suit and he's like doing his little self videos at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And you just see how happy he's just so annoyed with him. And you just get the feeling like this is who Peter Parker is. So I don't think they did wrong to cast him. I just hope that they're done with the rebooting, and I think they are.
And that's my only hope is, like I said, whether they had stuck with Tobey Maguire the entire time, I don't care for timeline purposes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if it was somebody I absolutely hated as an actor. They could have done what's his name? Ewan McGregor.
Oh, come on, man.
But
Obi-Wan?
I hate that kid. I do not like him. I don't like any of his acting. I don't like his look. I don't like anything about him. Acting-wise. I don't know him personally.
Right.
But there's nothing that he's done cinematically that I like. But if he was originally casted as Peter Parker, goddamn, just keep him as Peter Parker. Keep him as Spider-Man. Don't just keep changing because you feel you have to or you need to.
I feel like that's why the Batman movies tapered off, because they replaced the Michael Keaton with Val Kilmer, and then Val Kilmer with George Clooney. The Christian Bale, though, was... Yeah, that's one of those times that it just worked out.
Did you remember in Neighbors when Zac Efron and Seth Rogen are talking about Batman?
Yeah.
And they're like, I like Michael Keaton. He was more like yo, what's up? I'm Batman. Christian Bale's like, I'm Batman. I'm going to kick your ass.
Yeah, I really wasn't thinking that Batman voice. Which, by the way, they nailed the Batman voice in Batman v Superman because he would modulate his voice.
Yeah.
A billionaire who is on TV a lot would modulate his voice because anyone would be like, dude, you're Batman. You're Bruce Wayne. I know that voice. I've heard it 100 times.
Like Oliver Queen.
Yeah. Oliver Queen in Arrow is basically Batman, though. Let's just call it that.
It's true.
They basically like, well, we can't have Batman on TV, so we're going to have him be as
Why
close
can't
to
they have
Batman.
Batman on TV?
I don't know, because DC is very afraid. But the fact that they mentioned Bruce Wayne recently on Arrow tells me that they might be changing their mind on that. They have Superman on Supergirl.
It's true.
We're getting off topic.
We are.
Spider-Man Homecoming, I would probably say, is my favorite movie of the year, though.
Yeah.
Like, just because it was a lot of fun. And Michael Keaton as the Vulture was awesome. That is the best Marvel villain they have put on screen.
Yep.
Because Loki, I don't look at him as a villain. I look at him as like an anti-hero in some ways.
Yeah.
Because they've used him to be a good guy in some respects and a bad guy in others. Thanos was really the bad guy, and the Krull were usually the bad guy in the Marvel movies. If you look at the Thor movies, their villains haven't been that great.
Right.
Captain America, the best villain you had in there was the Winter Soldier.
Right.
But the Winter Soldier is now a good guy. Exactly. So you can't even count him as a villain anymore.
Right.
So again, Marvel on villains hasn't really been hitting it off. So I think Michael Keaton's Vulture was the best one they put out, in my opinion.
Yes. I would roll with that.
All right. So next up, we kind of touched on this on the last part, War of the Planet of the Apes. I know. I get feelings about this movie.
I have goosebumps thinking about it. I'm not even kidding. If this was a video podcast, you probably couldn't see it in the video either, but I do.
There's definitely more action in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, yeah.
This one is an emotional gut punch.
It is.
Down to when you first see Caesar and his family gets wiped out by the soldiers.
Yep.
You feel like, I don't know how I started rooting for a group of apes more than my own people.
It's because we're derived from apes.
Absolutely. There you go. So it's going to piss some people off. But it's, I really feel like the motion capture, they made those freaking monkeys look so real.
They did. It was everything about. If you watch, and it sounds like I'm ragging on Mark Wahlberg a lot, but I love Mark Wahlberg. But if you watch the Planet of the Apes with him in it,
it's awful.
It's terrible.
It's a terrible movie.
You watch this last trilogy of them, and they are absolutely wonderful. All three of them.
The weakest one is the first one.
The first one is the weakest one, yes.
But that also had a different director and everything, and it was more focused on James Franco's character, which completely got forgotten about.
Right. I don't know if he died. Like, I remember...
Maybe they explained it in the second one. I know for a fact that it was only in a deleted scene you find out what happened to that main guy in the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I guess Woody Harrelson shot him. He was trying to... It was in the deleted scenes that Fox released online.
See, that should have been in there. Because that ties all of it together right there.
Yeah, he basically was going up to bat for Caesar, saying that you're wrong about him. You need to go talk to him. He's reasonable. And Woody Harrelson just shot him.
Damn.
So I didn't know if you knew that, but
I did not know that.
So
but see, that to me, that ties everything together by leaps and bounds.
I love. Wasn't he getting visions of Koba? Yeah, he was getting visions of him, and you understand. Here's the thing about villains in movies. The best villains are the ones where you can understand their motivations and you can kind of see their point of view. And you see that they don't see themselves as the bad guy.
Right. Like Koba.
In their eyes, they're right. Yep. Koba was like that, but Koba was particularly trying. He was right and wrong in a lot of ways. Right. Woody Harrelson, until the end of War of the Planet of the Apes, you don't really truly see his motivation until you see that he was infected with the very disease he was trying to keep his people from getting.
Exactly.
And it's one of those things like we get mad about how they treat monkeys and everything, but in the real world, we treat animals horribly.
Yeah, we eat them.
We massacre them. But this, I don't know why this is one of those movies that kind of teaches you from the other side, like these are living things.
Right.
And you need to be mindful of that.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like the writing was spectacular. The direction, I don't really feel like there was a whole lot of lulls in the movie. There might have been one or two.
Right. There weren't really a lot.
But for a long, like you said, for like almost a 2.5, maybe more hour movie, it felt short.
It did. And it hit home the entire time. Yeah. And I remember I still remember sitting, I had my popcorn in my hand and I had the soda on a little counter thing next to, and when that movie ends, the way it ends, I don't know if we're gonna spoil or whatever. I mean,
just as long as you
need to see the movie first. There's a spoiler alert. Turn it down for about the next 10 seconds. I knew Caesar was gonna die, but just like it almost got to the point where he's sitting there and you're like, he might actually live. Oh man!
See, I feel
and
like
then he just hunted, and you're like, oh no!
He basically got them to a paradise.
Right.
Where they could live uninterrupted, and he didn't get to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Even though he got to see them get there, he basically, it was his last gift to his people.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man, for a movie about a bunch of apes, it is an extremely emotional movie. And I think it's...
You got to be a damn good writer and director to capture.
Yeah, Matt Reeves did just that. I'm telling you, I have a feeling the Ben Affleck Batman solo movies are going to be some of the best Batmans we've gotten, and I understand that, saying that there are the Christopher Nolan ones out there, right? But they are not perfect movies.
They're not. No.
Batman Begins is the best out of the trilogy to me.
Well, the reason why people overhype those ones is they're thinking about Batman and Robin.
Well, right. You know what I mean? Well, yeah. In comparison, there is no comparison when you put those two together.
Right.
I don't. As far as a Batman centric movie,
right.
That I feel like Matt Reeves is going to finally dial into that, what Christopher Nolan did in Batman Begins. Because the Batman Begins is about Bruce Wayne.
Right.
It's about Bruce Wayne and Batman. The Dark Knight is about the Joker.
Right.
It's not about Batman at all. It's more about Harvey Dent and Joker than it is about Batman at all. Batman seems like he's the third character in that movie.
He's the third.
The Dark Knight Rises is about Bane and Batman.
Yeah.
It's back to being a Bruce Wayne story. Like, they could have done it a little differently, but the one thing they did well is they made it a Bruce Wayne story. I probably wouldn't have made him a cripple and everything like that, but whatever. Right. You know, that's the direction they wanted to go. Next on the list, It. You haven't seen It.
I have not seen It.
But It is, I hate saying it, like I really wish the title was It, period. Was a very dark movie.
Right.
I said the kids in that movie were very much what you'd expect kids, like if you're a young guy and you have a group of friends, these kids more than likely are going to represent who those friends are in one way or another. They're very multidimensional. They very much come to life. Okay. You see like the characters coming through. The clown, it apes whatever the hell, no pun intended with apes. It literally beats whatever the Stephen King TV movie It was. The guy who played Pennywise the clown knocked it out of the park. I have never had a problem with clowns until I saw this movie.
See, I don't like clowns. That might be part of the reason why I haven't seen it yet. I did see the original It, and I saw that when I was young. That came out, 92, I think?
Somewhere around there.
And I remember I was probably like 10 or 9 or somewhere around that age when I saw it. And it scared the absolute shit out of me. Now, it's not that I haven't wanted to see it. It's just, it's going to just throw it back on the list. Yeah. I've been wanting to go to the movies for the last week or so, last 2 weeks. There's not really anything outside of it.
Kingsman Golden Circle. Well, I still need to see that.
Well, that was before Kingsman came out. There was like a 2-week lull where it was the only movie that was in the movie theaters. It, period.
You don't need much more than that, trust me. It's not cheesy. It definitely is one of the darker movies that Warner Brothers has put out in a little bit. And I think it's part of it. It's not to kind of ruin it, but it's part 1. Right. Like at the end of the movie, it says part 2 is coming. Oh. So it's a story that I feel like they made the scares with the clown good enough that it brought fear back into that character. Okay. So I don't know. I kind of feel like they as good as they could have done a job with the movie, they did. They knocked it apart. I think it's one of the best horror movies around. I really would put it up there with maybe the first Insidious. Okay. So that's the kind of ballpark I would put it in.
Right. That's good.
So we can't talk too much about it because I'm not trying to ruin the movie for you or anybody else in this respect because you haven't seen it. Next up on the list is The Fate of the Furious. I'm gonna crack open a beer for this one just because
I don't even know how to bring it in. I like the Fast and the Furious series of movies. Yes. This really I understand where they went on Fate of the Furious, but it just felt to me like something was missing outside of finding out that Dom is a father now. Yeah. Which was kind of a cool twist.
It's missing Brian O'Connor. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that really could be it. It could just be missing Paul Walker totally because, if you look at the ones that didn't have Paul Walker in it, they were just 100% straight up action. So you didn't really have the time to miss the character depth of Brian O'Connor. Yeah. Where this one was very, very emotional. Yeah. And you know what I mean? It was much more dramatic than the other movies. To where, it felt like Vin Diesel's not a good drama actor.
I would say not.
The Rock's not a good drama actor.
He can be.
He could be, but
the Gridiron Gang proved that he can do that. Yeah, he has got the chops. It's just I don't think Hobbs is that character. Right. And I don't think they have a true feel on what Hobbs is because they kind of have him all over the place with being this extreme badass, but yet he's coaching a girls' soccer team and being overly joking. I feel like they've lightened the tone on his character since Fast 5.
And that could be just because they're doing the spinoffs. Yep. I mean, who knows? I like the team as a whole. I like Tyrese and Ludacris.
I definitely think it was the dynamic between Paul Walker and Vin Diesel and the rest of the team that made those movies what they were. Yeah. You definitely feel the lack of Brian O'Connor.
Yeah, because I mean, you essentially with Dominic Toretto and Brian O'Connor, it was a 1A and a 1B as far as importance. You know what I mean? And then you had Tyrese and all of the other guys.
Tyrese is hilarious, man.
Tyrese is awesome.
That moment in the movie where Kurt Russell and all them were telling them that the rest of them were on Interpol's top 10, but he didn't make the list. Then he was like, "Well, where did they come in?" He's like, "I didn't make the top 10, but Ramsey made the top 10." Like that bugged out. That to me is hilarious. Him driving a Lamborghini on the ice is hilarious to me. There are sometimes in the Fast and the Furious movies where I also keep this in mind. I'm also going to be a total hypocrite here, but there are some things that is hard to fathom that they're trying to tell me actually take place. I watch superhero movies, for Christ's sake.
Right.
And moments like where Tyrese is standing on the ice and holds a door and stops another guy coming at him full momentum on a snowmobile that I gotta call bullshit.
Right.
The fact that these guys in the last movie were literally throwing cars out of a plane and making them land perfectly in the streets.
Right.
Bullshit.
Right. Jumping through buildings in Abu Dhabi.
I'll tell you what's cool though. The fact that is, I don't know if you knew this, that's the first movie that was shot in Cuba since the embargo got lifted. So that was Cuba. Usually it's Puerto Rico in the movies. Whenever they show Cuba, it's Puerto Rico.
Yep, that was actually Cuba. Yeah.
And they had to have cleaned up them streets because Cuba don't look that good usually. So, but it's one of those things that's really cool. The women there were to die for in that movie. Well, naturally, I'm a Cuban guy, so I'm going to say that. So.
But, I mean, they've always done a good job casting women.
Yeah, they might as well. It's like they get with Michael Bay. They're like, let's focus on every ass shot you've ever shot, and we're going to use that in our movies.
Right. But it's interesting because it does give you that dynamic to where by now, if you follow either The Rock or Tyrese or Vin Diesel on social media, you know that The Rock and Tyrese have that beef going on now.
Because Tyrese thinks he should have his own movie.
Whether it's real or not, we don't know that.
No.
However, The Rock and Jason Statham are getting their own spinoff now.
I don't think Jason Statham needs his own spinoff.
I don't think so either, unless it depends on how it plays out.
But you can put them both in the same movie.
However, I do think that now, with them giving us that Dominic is now a father, we're going to get our own Dominic Toretto spinoff now too, which is kind of cool. Because you're taking these movies that you either love them or you hate them. Like, I've never met anybody that's like, the Fast and the Furious series is okay. They're either like, oh, it's such bullshit, I'm so tired of it, just end it already.
Or they're huge fans.
Of it. I'm gonna say, going off of my own scale, I'm a huge fan of it. Okay. I don't hate it. There's certain movies, like I thought Tokyo Drift was stupid. Yeah. With the Friday Night Lights kid. I think
Fast 5 is the strongest installment of that whole series.
Yes, Fast 5 is the best. But what I like about that is it opened up the doors for other things.
Of course, yeah. It changed it. Look, let's make no mistake. In the first 3 Fast and the Furious movies are a different tone completely to what the rest of the movies became.
Yeah.
Fast and Furious changed the dynamic. Fast 5 relaunched that series.
Yeah. So think about this. The Fast and the Furious started stealing DVD players. And now they're saving the world from
Interpol's most watched.
Yeah. So like you think about how it's changed, and you can't sit there and go, oh yeah. So like everything evolves. Yeah. Every single thing in this world evolves. Movies evolve, Pokemon evolve, you name it, that shit evolves. Like it does.
Of course.
So if you're sitting here in 2017 and telling me that you still want to see racers race down the street in Los Angeles at night being chased by the cops, you're out of your mind.
But I feel like they already have that movie. Like they can just go back and watch that movie.
Right.
Like, they don't need to do that anymore.
Nobody cares about that stuff anymore.
I would argue in the movies, that's the part that always drags me out. Every time I go to a car meet in these movies, maybe it's because I'm not a giant car guy and I just don't understand that. It's just one of those things that drags me out. I'm like, dude, I actually enjoy when you guys are doing other things. Like, this isn't what the movies are to me anymore. Like that, I understood that in the first two Fast and the Furious. That's, even the third one, that's what the stories are. But then they became about like heists, giant heists, or stopping giant heists, or doing crazy things to stop warlords and things like that.
Yep.
That is more interesting to me than Vin Diesel measuring dicks at a car meet.
Right. And I mean, and that's kind of why they've gotten away from that.
Which, by the way, you remember the beginning of that Fate and the Furious when that car's on fire and he's beating a guy with a suit. I'm sorry. Like, Dom, they turned Dom into this like race car superhero that he's just not.
Right.
But it is what it is.
At least he's not as fat as he was in the last movie.
Yeah, he definitely slimmed down.
Good job, Vin.
I think it's because The Rock probably gave him some shit.
Probably.
Or made him get him some emotional thing. Maybe saying "I am Groot" repeatedly made him drop some weight. Who knows?
A lot of burned calories.
All right. So, Fate of the Furious, overall, great movie.
I thought it was good. Yeah.
I thought Charlize Theron's been killing it, dude.
Yes.
Because even in Atomic Blonde,
yep.
Like, dude, this chick is awesome.
She's always been one of my favorite actresses.
Mad Max Fury Road. She's more interesting to me than Mad Max.
Right. Yep. She's always been a great actress. I mean, even from like Devil's Advocate, she was great.
Yeah.
With Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, she's always been a really good. Heck, even in Hancock, she was great.
She was.
Yeah.
Speaking of Keanu Reeves, I know you haven't seen John Wick 2, but
I haven't seen any of the John Wicks.
I need to see those movies. Those movies are...
I love Keanu Reeves. I don't know how I let those guys slip under my radar.
Those movies are almost like John Wick lives in the Matrix. The way that everything is... It's awesome. It is an action movie. It's witty. It's comedic. It's just...
It definitely gets me because what I seen in the trailers, man, he's putting work on these people.
John Wick is just a legitimate.
I think it was like one of those things, like, because ever since I've watched I Am Legend, when he has to kill his dog, when I saw the puppy look like it was gonna get killed in the trailer, I'm like, I don't know if I want to sit through this shit, dude. Those are the things that stay with me.
Oh,
maybe I'm just a pussy for stuff like that. But.
No, you're right. But I mean, I think that's like one of the taglines. Like, don't steal his car and kill his dog. I think that's the tagline of the first movie.
Well, yeah, all I know is that if the revenge aspect of that movie makes it worth that scene, sure, I'm gonna give it a shot.
The whole movie, the whole series, both movies are almost based off of that.
Oh well,
that's the best part.
Give it a shot.
Those movies are like it's one of those movies that it goes by very quickly. But it's just like, it's nonstop, and you're just like, how much ass can this guy kick? Like, holy shit. Like, it's
Neo.
Right, yeah. That's almost like...
He is the one.
Yeah. John Wick is the one.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to check those out. It's on my to-do list.
That's right.
So, all right. Now, since those are kind of like the movies we could think of off the top of our head, these are the movies that are still to come out within a month, actually. At least two of them are within a month, and then this last one will be before the end of the year. I want to know what you're looking forward to from each one, and then you're gonna tell me which one you're looking forward to the most.
All right.
These are the 3 top movies that are still to come out in 2017.
All right.
Thor Ragnarok, Justice League, and Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
All right. Where would you like me to start?
All right, let's go in order in releases here. So Thor is the first one coming out on November 3rd.
Obviously, I'm a huge Marvel Cinematic Universe guy.
Absolutely.
I am looking that out of all 3, I'm looking forward to that one the most.
There you go.
I'll just kind of cut to the chase on that guy real quick. I like the Thor movies. I like the Thor movies more after I rewatched them. Mm-hmm. Like, I liked the Thor movies just based off of being a biased Marvel fan. I was like, okay, you know what? I like the Thor movies. I re-liked the Thor movies after I rewatched them because I felt like I was able to pay more attention to specific aspects that I didn't before. Like, that's why
there's a lot there to unpack.
That's why I'll watch movies multiple times.
Because you'll miss things the first viewing because you're just so caught up in the moment. Then a lot of times you'll appreciate the movie on the second or third viewing even more.
Right. And what I like about this is it's almost going to be another 1A, 1B movie, kind of, how like with character-wise between Thor and Hulk.
I would argue this Thor movie looks the most interesting Marvel movie they put out in a long time, since maybe Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
As a matter of fact, it feels very much like Guardians of the Galaxy from the trailers are putting out.
Right.
I like how they are taking Thor and they are evolving the living hell out of that character, it looks like.
Right.
Down to the haircut, his attitude. They're definitely making him the more comedic relief of the team.
Right. Which is not something that you would have expected.
But Chris Hemsworth is hilarious.
He is.
If you've seen those like little Marvel shorts that they do where he lives with a roommate, he's hilarious.
Dude, even watch him, and I know people hate it, but even watch him in the Ghostbusters movies.
Oh, he's the best part of that Ghostbusters movie. As much as I enjoyed Melissa McCarthy and Kate McKinnon and everybody, like, he was awesome in that movie.
Yeah.
Just he's fun. He knows how to hit comedic beats. But I feel like pairing Thor and Hulk, somebody like who like at least they're superhero characters,
right,
don't always get along, because Thor and Hulk have like that kind of feud as to like we're the strongest one.
Yep.
I feel like the comedic tone of this movie is hitting all the right beats. And I feel like since we're about to get into something serious like the Infinity War, this is like the perfect transition to kind of bring the cosmic part of the Marvel Universe more to home.
Right. Yeah.
Because Guardians kind of started that, but you don't really have anything tying Guardians to Earth.
Right. You really don't.
And Thor's, who kind of is the protector of Earth, he's going to meet up with the Guardians.
Right.
I have a feeling by the end of Thor Ragnarok, it is going to be that they meet up with the Guardians. And if not, that's what the next Infinity War is going to be.
I think that'll be the last scene you see.
Well, I like the fact that they have Hulk in here. They're going to have to explain to me how the hell Hulk ended up where the hell he ended up. I'm sure they're going to.
Right.
Because all I know, he was in the Quinjet, and then all of a sudden he's on what seems like another world altogether.
Right.
So they're going to have to explain that. I like how realistic they made Hulk look in this movie. It's probably the best looking Hulk they've done. I do like the style. I said it looks like Guardians, but the movie feels so different than whatever Marvel's done before.
It does look different.
And that is a lot to pay to the director that they brought in for this movie. I can't pronounce his name. It's all over the place. But he looks like he really understood the material, and he really took it in a new, fun direction.
Right.
So I really liked what I saw from there. So Thor Ragnarok, I agree. I'm really looking forward to it.
I am as well. Especially, like I said, Hulk's not going to get his own movie. This is essentially going to be Hulk's movie too.
Yeah, it'd be hard for him not to steal the movie.
Right. So that's what interests me the most about this movie is, like I said, you essentially have one movie called Thor, which is about Thor, but it's also going to be largely in part about Hulk.
Maybe even laying the groundwork for a Planet Hulk movie. Who knows?
You never know, which would be great.
I think Mark Ruffalo deserves his own Hulk movie. I really don't understand why they haven't given him one up until this point.
I don't know why.
I understand the last two Hulks. I mean, the Edward Norton one wasn't all that bad.
No.
But maybe the Ang Lee Hulk wasn't a great movie.
Right.
I like the music in it from Danny Elfman, but other than that, I didn't like that movie.
Right.
Moving on. Justice League. You know that this is going to be, hands down, my most anticipated movie, not just of this year, of all time.
Right.
I am a gigantic DC fan, and I think that this is the moment I have been waiting for since I was 5 years old and I found out who they were.
Right. I'm hoping that I like it, in not so many words. Yeah. I'm hoping that it's as good as Wonder Woman, if not better.
It looks like they've definitely changed the tone.
Right. Even
brighten the colors, because if you look at the original Comic-Con trailer they put out, they had that filter that Zack Snyder loves to do, kind of like muddies the color.
Yep.
It looks like they pulled that back and kind of brightened it up a bit, and because Zack Snyder unfortunately had his daughter commit suicide, so he had to leave production.
Right.
And he left it to Joss Whedon, who directed the Avengers 1 and 2.
Right.
And he rewrote some scenes. He was already kind of working on the project because he's working on Batgirl for DC.
Yep.
And he supposedly wrote some scenes to help kind of like meld the story together, which I feel like Zack Snyder can shoot action like no other director.
Right.
As far as stylized action, he's got it. He can do things that I don't think any other director can do. Sometimes his story beats don't quite fall in place, and I feel like bringing someone like Joss Whedon, who's really good at character building and kind of propping up, he's going to kind of meld that together and make it a better movie.
Right.
I can't even tell you. Everything I've seen come out of Justice League, I'm excited for. I haven't seen anything that made me that gave me a pause. Even Batman v Superman, I love that movie. Superman's portrayal gave me pause, even in the trailers. I'm like, you guys don't understand Superman.
Right.
Like, he's not a dark character. Everything around him is dark. He's supposed to be the shining light amongst all the bullshit in the world.
Right.
I feel like the way they're kind of propping it up, the world is without hope. The world needs Superman. You hear Bruce saying, I made him a promise. You hear all these things. I feel like this is finally the moment where DC is going to finally hit back and bust out of the shell that they deserve, because DC has some of the richest stories, period. Even the animated movies of DC are they could be made into actual movies and they would be amazing.
Yeah.
I really think this is going to be the movie that knocks it out of the park in DC's favor.
I hope it does. I really do. Like I said, just because I'm a fan of Marvel doesn't mean that I hope ill. No,
I think DC, their success pan on one another.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I hope that it is good. I hope that it plays out well. Like I said, my only beef, and that's just a personal beef, is that I wish that the guys that were in the movie were the same guys that were on the TV series, because the TV series are so good.
Yeah, I know, but the only problem is whenever you do something like that, at least in my opinion, is that you are handcuffing the shows to always follow what the movies are doing, and they can't really take it in their own direction.
Right.
Like, as much as I would love to see Grant Gustin as the Flash, he is the Flash to me.
Right.
But I'm gonna give Ezra Miller a chance, because just like anything else, it's like I didn't get mad at Henry Cavill because he wasn't, Tom Welling. I mean, in some ways, I would have loved to have seen Tom Welling on the screen, but it's not the same thing. It's something completely new. I think bringing in people like Jason Momoa to play Aquaman is only working in their benefit.
Yeah, he's in Game of Thrones, too.
He's in Game of Thrones. He was Conan. But that guy is turning Aquaman into the badass he's supposed to be. Because Aquaman, for the most part, is a joke to people.
Yeah.
He's going to change that. I don't know how Ezra Miller is going to come off as the Flash. I like what I've seen so far.
Right.
Is he as likable as Grant Gustin? I don't think so yet, but I have to watch the movie. I'm going to go into it with an open mind.
Yeah.
I think they started showcasing Wonder Woman more in the movie, and I think that was a smart idea.
That's smart based off of the success of Wonder Woman.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think Wonder Woman deserves the spotlight. I don't think it has anything to do with just because we need female superheroes.
Right.
I think she just is a great portrayal of Wonder Woman, the same way I think Christopher Reeve was a great portrayal of Superman. She just has that earnesty, you know what I mean? Like that innocence.
Yep.
And I know they're going to have to tell that story of how she got jaded, like the way she was in Batman v Superman, but I feel like they're going to punch her up again and make her happy in Justice League.
Right.
Because it's needed.
Yeah, it's going to be.
You already have enough brooding in Batman's department all by himself.
Right.
And I feel like Cyborg is going to be the character that is either going to make or break this movie.
Yeah.
I love Cyborg as a character. The CG is a little off.
Yeah, a little bit.
But it's all going to depend on how he gets used, because he's technically one of those mother boxes that's going to be the story. Basically, they're the Infinity Stones for the DC universe. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, that's fair.
The mother boxes are going to be the thing that tell that story.
Right.
So I'm head over heels looking forward to Justice League. It is easily going to be the movie that... I mean, I have a Batman v Superman tattoo on me. I mean, I can't tell you enough how excited I am for this movie. It's going to be the thing I'm most looking forward to. Now, probably what will be the biggest movie of the year.
Right. Ironically, the biggest movie of the year, and third on my list.
Yeah. Star Wars The Last Jedi.
I feel that...
Let's find out. Did you like The Force Awakens?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I have a feeling you're going to get more of what you like there. It doesn't feel like the prequels, and it doesn't feel like the original trilogy.
Right.
So I feel like it feels just like a darker version of The Force Awakens.
Right. And I feel that it needs to hit home on this one. Like if you look
I feel like it will.
Like if you look at I didn't think Rogue One was that great.
Rogue One, though, here's the problem with these anthology films. You have something like Rogue One didn't need to get told.
Right.
For someone who's not a hardcore Star Wars fanatic like yourself.
Right.
But for those fans of Star Wars, when they see that, they can't get enough of it. They're going to be a Han solo movie, no pun intended. But does it need to get made? Realistically, no.
Right.
But Star Wars fans can't get enough Star Wars, so that's always going to get put out.
Of course.
The Last Jedi, I feel like they're going to take it down the Empire Strikes Back road where it's going to be a little darker than the rest of them.
Right.
And I don't have a problem with that.
No, I don't either. I really don't. I think that it needs to, and I like that everybody's going to be in it. Finn's going to be in it. And you know what I mean? Where they're going to start tying stuff back together again.
Yeah.
Because, like,
Finn's the only one whose story I really don't know what they're going to do with.
Right.
Exactly. I only see him wearing an Imperial, like, outfit, but I don't know why he's doing it. Again, you figured Rey is going to be training to be a Jedi, or not training, whatever.
Right.
Either way, she's there with Luke.
Yep.
Then you see that Kylo is obviously going to be trying to rebuild the First Order and going after Rey because he sees the threat there.
Right.
And I have a feeling that last teaser in the trailer of him reaching out to her, maybe that's a dream. I'm hoping that's a dream, kind of like in The Empire Strikes Back when Luke's training with Yoda. He sees Darth Vader out in the woods, but he's not actually there.
Right. Yep. That's what I'm hoping for. Star Wars they're one of those movies where, like, I don't get too many thoughts about them like I do with DC and Marvel movies and other movies in general. Like, I go into Star Wars, like I said, I've just recently a handful of years ago just finally saw all the Star Wars movies. I've seen Force Awakens, I've seen Rogue One, I've seen them in the theaters, but all the other 6 prior to that I hadn't seen in theaters. I saw them all on Netflix. Or wherever they were. Wherever I saw them. But it was, I enjoyed them, but I don't have any strong thoughts one way or the other.
Yeah, you're not picking apart the trailer when you see it.
Right, yeah. I watch it like, okay, cool. I'm going to go watch this movie regardless. Because it's almost like Star Wars movies are just almost like an epidemic where, like, you have to see it.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
It's a pop culture thing. You have to go see it.
Right. And there's not many things that are on a level like that where you're like, okay, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Where, like, there's certain things where, like, everybody was like that with Game of Thrones for me. Why haven't you seen it yet? I can't believe you haven't seen it. How have you not seen this movie or this show yet? Get HBO? That's the only reason I buy HBO. So
yeah, I do feel like the fan bases act very much alike.
And I mean, they're completely different at the end of the day, but it's Star Wars. Like I said, for me personally, it's one of those movies or just one of those series where I enjoy them.
But you're not holy crap invested in it.
I'm not holy crap invested in it, correct? But I will see it regardless. Yeah. I will go to.
I'm absolutely one of those ones who's invested in it. I will say this about all 3 movies we just mentioned: their trailers have been outstanding.
Yes.
Every last one of them. Thor Ragnarok's trailer.
Yep.
The Justice League trailers, even the last one, where they were singing the hero song by the Wallflowers,
right?
Like that, and the Star Wars The Last Jedi trailer. They're some of the best damn trailers they've thrown together in years.
Yes, they are.
So that's why they're in the top 3 movies of the end, but they're the top 3 movies I was anticipating this year, period.
Right, before I even saw trailers.
Before I saw the trailers. Yep. So maybe the trailers are just extra selling me on something I was already going to buy.
Icing on your cake.
Correct. Well, I think that about wraps it up, man. I don't know what else, unless there's something else you want to talk about, we can not save it for another episode.
Drop us some feedback. Leave us some reviews on iTunes as well. Don't just give us the good 5-star rating. Leave us a review as well. Let us know what you think. Follow us on Facebook. We're on pretty much every single social media aspect. We're at Joe's Radio.
Yeah. If they have a social media platform, we're freaking there. So check us out.
We're there at Joe's Radio. But now we are signing off. We will join you guys.
Episode 3.
Episode 3 is coming your way a lot sooner than you think, too.